Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously fascinating macroeconomic puzzle. In our modern age of AI, digital networks, and crazy fast automation, how exactly do developing nations catch up to the rest of the world? Do they really have to grind through the same centuries-long path that early industrialized nations did? Or is there a shortcut?
Here's the roadmap for our journey today. First, we'll hit the leapfrogging strategy. Then check out what bypassing the industrial stage actually looks like. After that, we'll uncover the hidden prerequisites, tackle the modern threats of peak globalization and reshoring, and finally, map out the future of structural change.
All right, part one, the leapfrogging strategy.
Traditionally, we've thought of national economic development as this really slow, predictable ladder, right? A country starts with farming, takes a step up to basic stuff like textiles, and then slowly scales into heavy industry, steel, factories, the whole shebang. Eventually, generations later, they graduate into a knowledge-based economy. It's a linear path, and it takes an incredibly long time. But what if a developing nation simply skips that industrial revolution entirely? Just imagine a country completely bypassing the heavy manufacturing era of the 20th century. Instead of waiting decades to build out massive physical infrastructure, what if they could just jump straight into the interconnected digital age?
Well, this brings us to a foundational concept defined by researcher W. Edward Steinmuller, known as technological leapfrogging. It's essentially bypassing the stages of capability building or investment that older countries had to slog through. Think of it as a massive economic life hack at a national scale. When economists talk about capability building, they usually mean the slow grind of industrial experience, learning how to run massive factories or lay down thousands of miles of physical cables. But by adopting modern digital tech from the get-go, developing countries might not need to spend 50 years mastering those analog processes. They can basically teleport their economy forward.
Researcher Lucas Schlogel came up with a really brilliant framework to visualize exactly how this works. He maps out 4 different pathways based on how a national economy interacts with new tech. Up top, you've got mature economies leading the pack, pushing the technological frontiers. Then you've got developing nations lining up, which means they're following that slow step-by-step historical pattern we just talked about. Down below, there are the ones lagging behind, delaying investments and falling further back. But the real game changer is that leaping category. This is early technology adoption during late economic development. It's the strategic choice to just skip the line entirely.
Moving into Section 2, bypassing the industrial stage.
So how does this leaping actually play out in the real world? Steinmuller uses this amazing metaphor that hits the nail on the head. He says, acquiring ICT-related capabilities is rather like learning a language. Knowledge of ICTs provides a different perspective on the world. It's such a profound point. Adopting digital tech isn't just about buying faster computers. It fundamentally changes how a society thinks and solves problems. It allows a developing nation to tackle modern challenges without being weighed down by the outdated habits of thought from old, heavy industrial models.
Take Malaysia, for example. This is a perfect illustration of leapfrogging in action. A while back, they decided to develop a unified smart card. They essentially created a single piece of tech that combined a digital purse, a passport, a driver's license, and crucial health data, all in one place. What's crazy here is that highly industrialized, wealthy nations really struggled to do something similar. Why? Because of legacy systems. Think about how much of a nightmare it is to dig up 100 years of old copper telephone wire in London compared to just throwing up brand new cell towers in a developing city. The older nations were trapped by entrenched analog bureaucracy. Malaysia didn't have that historical baggage, so they leaped right over the problem and built a streamlined digital system from scratch. And we see this exact same principle applying to physical infrastructure over in South Africa. Obviously, a massive hurdle to entering the digital age is just a lack of widespread electricity. But instead of spending billions of dollars and decades waiting to build out a traditional massive national power grid, which would be the lining up approach, they leaped. They strategically deployed independent, solar-powered grids specifically tailored for digital applications. By using solar panels and batteries, they provided high-speed internet and digital phones to remote schools almost overnight. They entirely bypassed the wildly expensive infrastructure stage that held other nations back for centuries. We even see this leaping effect dominating the service sector. A prime example is India's Aditi Technologies. These guys jumped straight into building specialized digital email systems to manage global software customer support. By adopting this new tech immediately, they were providing outsourced, high-level tech support to global giants like Microsoft. They didn't even bother with the old analog models, like massive rooms full of physical switchboards and slow localized mail. They completely skipped all of that and went straight to managing real-time, global digital information, grabbing a dominant position in a totally new market.
All right, Section 3, the hidden prerequisites. Okay, time for a bit of a reality check. Because while leapfrogging sounds like this incredible shortcut, it is absolutely not magic. You can't just drop a shipping container full of laptops into a country and wait for an economic miracle. Steinmuller lays out 4 rigid prerequisites, and they are extremely tough to pull off. Number 1, absorptive capacities. You literally need a workforce educated enough to understand and absorb the new knowledge. Without basic tech literacy, the hardware is just expensive paperweights. Number 2, reliable access to the equipment and the know-how to fix it. Number 3, complementary capabilities. You still need baseline infrastructure like stable power and networks. And finally, number 4, downstream integration. The actual ability to market, distribute, and sell what you produce into the global economy. If a nation misses even one of these pillars, the whole leap falls apart. And get this, even if a developing nation somehow nails all 4 of those prerequisites, there are still massive legal walls standing in their way. Global intellectual property rights act as these giant, hidden structural barriers. Patents held by massive corporations in the wealthy world can legally block developing nations from accessing the exact state-of-the-art equipment they need to leapfrog. This isn't just about paying annoying licensing fees. Strict IP laws can forcefully lock developing nations out of the market entirely. It literally stunts their leap before it even begins.
Which brings us to Section 4, peak globalization and reshoring.
The rules of the global economy are completely shifting right now, introducing what economists call the developer's dilemma. We have to contrast a beneficial technology leap with something much more dangerous, technology creep. A true leap genuinely helps a country catch up and creates widespread wealth. But a creep? That's the tragic irony where bringing in advanced tech too early actually destroys the developing economy. Imagine dropping state-of-the-art AI automation into a developing country that has tens of millions of citizens desperately relying on low-skill, entry-level jobs just to survive. The technology simply wipes out that labor force without generating any new accessible wealth for the people. It's a technological step forward, but an absolute economic disaster. To really ground how big of a threat this is, let's look at Lucas Schlogel's research. Think for a second about where your smartphone was assembled, or where the shoes you're wearing right now were made. For decades, the one massive competitive advantage the developing world had was abundant, low-cost labor. The whole dynamic of globalization was built on developing nations doing the massive labor-intensive assembly work, while rich countries handled the design and consumption. But advanced robotics and AI are violently flipping that entire script upside down. And that leads to the macroeconomic trends of reshoring and peak globalization. Because of breakthroughs in automation and industrial 3D printing, companies in the global north can now manufacture stuff at home almost as cheaply as they used to overseas. Picture a fully automated shoe factory in the US or Germany, running 24/7 with literally zero human assembly workers. The implications are staggering. Developing nations built their entire strategy around providing low-cost labor. Now, they aren't just competing against other low-wage workers, they are competing directly against tireless, hyper-efficient robots located in wealthy countries. It completely neutralizes their historical advantage.
All right, our final section, the future of structural change. So, if robots are taking back the manufacturing jobs, and leapfrogging requires all these incredibly high barriers to entry, what does this actually mean for the global economy? The key term to understand here is sectoral hybridization. Instead of a straightforward deindustrialization where old factories just shut down, everything is blurring together. Technology is aggressively merging the old economic sectors. Farming isn't just tractors anymore. It's an industrial, data-heavy enterprise with satellite mapping and drones. Manufacturing is totally dependent on digital software services. And the service sector, like tech support and logistics, is scaling up massively to operate exactly like a high-efficiency factory. So here's the massive question we are left to confront as all these industries hybridize. Will the global workforce in developing nations become empowered partners in this technological leap, using new tools to finally close the wealth gap? Or are they going to become casualties of a premature tech creep, fundamentally displaced by automation before they ever truly had a chance to catch up? It is easily the defining economic puzzle of our time. Thanks for hanging out for this explanation, and keep questioning the systems around you.